Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we've got our first triple win-it box for the OP13 meta of the One Piece card game. We had 64 players, 6 rounds of Swiss into this top 8 that we see here today. And real quick before we get started, if you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. We make a lot of content for the One Piece card game. I don't want you guys to miss it. Also, if you guys want to check out any of the deck lists for this event or many others, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. I've been also adding some OP13 events from around the world, including Chinoi's Cups. They've been doing a lot of events themselves. We also have some Japanese deck lists here, especially as they're going into the EBO3, and we're going to continue to update this page and the deck list table and everything else as the meta continues as well. So should be a good time. I am looking forward to seeing what this meta looks like, but I can already tell, I can feel it. We're only a couple minutes in, but someone's already typed in the dead meta, this meta is boring, right? That whole kind of trend. And I understand why that mentality is there, right? We have 3 leaders that are really good right now. They're named Emu, Zoro, and Ace, and it's just happened to be what the entirety of this top 8 was, right? And you can even look down at the leader breakdown. We've got 17 Ace, 17 Emu, and then we also have 10 copies of Zoro. About 2/3 of the event are just literally these 3 leaders. And then we also do have some Rogers, some Bonney, some Sabos. We had some, other unique ads for it, but sincerely, like, this is kind of a bit of a known format. So I do want to say a couple things. One, I understand that if you guys like more diversity, and honestly, like, if you don't like playing Emu or Ace, this can be a rough format. I will 100% agree with that, because it's, even if you like the game and everything, there can be times when the format's not for you. But I also understand, like, some people are going to love this format, right? There is kind of like this duality where, if there's not a lot of decks that are viable right now, some people just really like playing the best deck in the format. And because of that, because Ace and Emu, I think there's such a delicate balance between the two of them. I think that Emu matchups, if you're playing them, can be really interesting, and it's something that you can kind of skill gap your opponent a lot of the time. I understand, like, why people can like this format too. So honestly, it's new enough for me that I'm still trying to get used to it. I haven't gotten bored from it, and we do have some updates throughout the meta with like the Goldie Roger promo coming out sometime in December, as well as like EBO3 kind of stuff and everything. So I think that it's something that you can enjoy, but I also think that it's something that if you don't enjoy it, I understand why. Again, we haven't really had a format where it's been like this aggressively a 2-deck format. It's 2 to 3 deck format with Zoro. I feel like in a minute, and honestly, it's been like quite the change, right? I know that a lot of people at the end of OP12, they're like, we've seen a lot of these decks for a long time. It's kind of boring. I want to see something new, and you're going to see something new. You're going to see a lot of new leaders from this one. So we'll continue to see what this meta continues to develop in the next couple of weeks. But I just want to say that I think it's both understood and acceptable to be like, I really like this format. I really like playing Ace or Emu or Zoro. And there's a lot of like skill matchups that I really enjoy playing from it. But there's also a chance like you just don't like any of these leaders and you don't enjoy this format too. It's fine for either ways. And if you're frustrated with it, you can let me know in the comments, I suppose. I don't think it's going to do you much help, but you can tell me that you don't like playing this format, and I'll understand your sentiment for it. So we're going to look at all the top 8 leaders and all the top 8 decks just to go through all of them. We do also have a couple of unique X2s. So we've got a Teach, a Silver's Rayleigh, a Betty, as well as a yellow Jewelry Bonney. All of these went 4-2 through the event, and we're going to do that as well. So we're going to start off with our first place list, which is the build of Emu from Nathan, and we also do have the builds from Dylan and Roger. And I think like maybe it's part of the reason people are having a hard time for this format too, is that not only is Emu like a good deck, and by a good deck I mean a really, really, really good deck if it's able to go off, the construction for this deck is very understood as well. So the difference between this deck doing well or bad is almost entirely on the pilot, which I think is the right way to make it. Like in this game, right, having a lot of skill-based leaders I think is great. And you're going to look again, so Nathan's build, and we also have the build from Dylan and the build from Roger. They're almost near identical, right? There's very few kind of tech cards I think between them, right? We do have, for example, the Shirahoshi and the Stussy. Generally, like, the entire package itself are usually like 46 cards or something, right? So we have a couple wiggle room cards from there as well. We are playing, the Events Never Existed, 5 Elders, and the World of Carilli room for Roger, also playing after all these years of losing my edge. So up to one of your leaders or characters gains plus 1,000 power during this battle. Then if you have 10 or more cards in your trash, which you do, you get to add up to 1 black character at the cost of 3 or less from your trash to your hand. This can just be like a way to also like recycle your Shirahoshi. This can also just be a way to help you get like some better search from St. Charlotte if you like need need to get this card back to really search some cards, but you generally, it's just like another, plus 3k, because you can just get a 2k and then you get that there. So not terrible. Obviously never existed as a really, really good counter in this deck, so you're really good from there. We also just have like some additional, if you want to add some of the Celestial Dragons, the St. Charles, we have the Mojgard as well as the Roseword, right? This one's a little bit less played, but I do see people play it. You may trash one card from your hand if the only characters in your field Celestial Dragon types. KO up to 2 of your opponent's characters with a base cost of 3 or less, so really good against some of the more aggressive decks like Silver's Rayleigh and the like. And then lastly, we do have the build here from Nathan, which I think this is like almost legitimately the build that I would be playing based on ratios. I'd probably take out one Sheer Hoshi and put one Equilibrium there, but I would say that this is like the standard build in a lot of ways, so which isn't like any like negative context for that, but just more so like this is, I think, a really good build if anyone's wanting to go into Emu. And it also means that if you're doing well with the standard build and you're pretty, what's going on, you're in a really good spot. And I think that based off the live stream where we were able to watch for Nathan's games, he had a lot of heads up information for the matchups that he faced. So congratulations for Nathan for their win for Emu, and that is the build there. Next up, we've got Zoro. So we got 3 builds from Matt, and then 2 different Nicholases were able to go X1 with it as well. In general, these Zoro decks have gotten a couple new tools from OP13 and kind of changed how they've worked, right? If you look at the OP12 builds of Zoro, they have usually this top end of like the 8-drop Mihawk, using that as a blocker and being able to just be kind of defensive going into you're kind of like resource scapping your opponent a little bit, where you're just getting to late game Zoro, you're able to pressure them a lot with your Zoro leader twice per turn, and then you have your Mihawk to help you be a little bit more defensive in late game and also get some extra value, right? Most people I've seen have just completely switched out their Mihawk for the 6-drop Trafalgar Law. So if you have 1 or less life cards, this character gains blocker, and then also on play you may return one of your characters to your owner's hand, put up to 1 character the cost of 5 or less from your hand rested. So what it lets you do is that it lets you, you do play a lot of searchers early game, right? We've got a Hiyori, Scratch Mana Poo, Perona. Also, you can use like Scratch Mana Poo to arrest the smaller blocker and then Lala back to your hand. And you can play a 5-drop such as the 4-drop Zoro, the Cavendish are a Toshigi. So all of these just fantastic cards, and you get that extra bonus for it. We are also seeing a lot of people just switching to the 3-drop Dropkill Mihawk, which also is searchable off the Hiyori as well as the Perona, and it lets you just play this out and then usually play out your new best friend, the 4-drop Zoro. So this card's been really great. The fact that it says on play if your leader has Film or Straw Hat Crew, 7 to 2 if your Dawn is active. Also, end of your turn getting set this card active itself means that some decks just have like a weird time getting rid of this card because it's going to be active at the end of each of your turns. Also, this is a mandatory set this card is active. You can't miss the timing. That did come up in some events today or this yesterday, so do make sure of that. And then lastly, we do have the 10-cost Shanks, right? So honestly, half the time, like your best play with this deck is already just putting all your Dawn on your leader. So you're not really affected by like the negative effect from the Shanks, right? You just play this for 10, you get all your Dawn back, and you just put all of them on Zoro anyways. So this being able to just kind of convert into a free extra attack on the next turn is good. We do have like restrictions. You can't play events from this too, so you don't think you can play the Shanks and then you can play Luffy as the man who will become king of the pirates. It does not work that way. So you can leave some Dawn open for defense for Demon Oris, 9 Sword Style, Oscar Blades, Dead Man's game, but that is kind of like the what you can do with this, right? You can't use events or characters after playing the Shanks like this. You can, if your leader effect can play it off your hand, you can do that, but that's just kind of different. So anyways, I do think that this deck is in a really good spot right now. We also have both of our Nicholases build, which you're going to see moderately the same for what they are, right? They're all playing out the 6-drop Laws and using the new 4-drop Zoro. We do have the Mihawk as well. We've got like the Kyoshiro as well. We've got like another like Kawamatsu is just like a better 2K. We do have the single copy of the Basil Hawkins, right? So our leader does have the Supernovas type, so it is a decent blocker as well. 6-drop 7K that can't be removed from your opponent's effect. You can rest one of your opponent's characters instead. Though I don't know exactly off the top of my head what matchup we're using to counter with this. I'm sure that there are some good situations for it, right? So because like Emu doesn't really care about like KOing this. Like it's a 7K blocker, which means that you have to like use it. Like 8K blockers are a lot better in this format, right? Because if you're playing against like a 5 Elders deck or Emu deck, you can get out a 7K attack with them, which is good. So and then does Ace have any ways to be removed from the field? I guess they can't like Jozu this back to your hand, so that's fun, but unless Jozu's like the only card on your board, and then you can like not get this. So I don't know. We'll see if Zoro. I think Zoro is going to be really strong right now. I also think that Zoro's like the most understood deck of the three right now, since a lot of people have been playing it some OP12. So I think it will be a little bit better in these early weeks, and then we'll see more and more people get better and better at Ace and Emu, and we'll see that happen, I think, a little bit more. But here's the builds from both Matt's and both Nicholas's, and congratulations for their finishes there. All right, next up we've got Ace, and we had two of them in the top 8. We've got James's build as well as Chris's build, and again, like I think Ace of the three probably has a little bit more flexibility in the tech cards and the choices you make for this. But again, it is pretty, I'd say, like, you know, this deck is probably like 40 cards the same, but again, does have a lot of I think more interaction than the other decks at times. So we are just kind of like a ramp deck, or not a ramp deck, but like a tempo deck at the end of the day, right? Our biggest play is, we want to go even, right? There are like a lot of decks that just want to go second right now, and the most impactful thing for a matchup is the dice roll. So, but we do want to get to 8 for our I Am Whitebeard. So this came out in Star Deck 22, but if your leader includes Whitebeard Pirates, put up to 1 Edward Newgate from your hand. Then you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. If you do, add to up to one of your leaders gets plus 2k power until the end of your opponent's turn. Almost no one does the second part. It's mostly just the first part, where you use it to play out the new 10-drop Newgate. So blocker on play, draw 2, trash 1, then give your leader and one of your characters up to 2 Rested Dawn each. So being able to use this to use this effect and help you, get your cards on board, and then like you just have a really good blocker, and then after that you are able to like attach Dawn to your leader, which you need for your leader effect, right? And like you can pressure really heavily, right? Like you're attacking 8k with your leader. If you have another 6k, you're attacking 8k with that. All of that seems like really strong for it. So there's like a decision on like what the other Newgate is, if you like to play like the 9-drop Newgate as well, or if you like playing the 10-drop Newgate. I kind of like this one a little bit more personally, because I feel like it does a little bit better for more of the matchups. Emu really can't attack the turn that you play this, but if you play the Edward Newgate, then they can still make some 8k attacks pretty easily in my mind, and the removal, like when attacking, doesn't really pop up as much in the 9-drop. So I've been liking the other 10-drop more, though obviously, it is a little bit tougher to play this card out. You pretty much need the I Am Whitebeard to be able to get the effects off, but other than that, like this deck is just built off like so much card draw, so much interaction. There's so many ways for you just to, you'll have like 10 plus cards in your hand, and then you're a 6k leader that becomes an 8k leader, and if you take the damage, you get to draw 2 cards, which is crazy for it. So again, taking advantage of a lot of good cards. We've got Pudding, we've got the Marco, we've got the Yamato from this set as well. We've got the old Yamato, which I think this card's been less popular than people were expecting. It does work really well, or you synergize well with the leader, but I think generally you just have better things to do than just kind of have a rush card. But having that Dawn to give to your leader every turn is helpful, I find. And then we are also playing 2 copies of the Ace for Chris's build. So if your life is 3 or less, this character gains rush, which will always happen. And then on play, give to 1 Rested Dawn your leader, then return up to 1 of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less to your owner's hand. If you do, your opponent may play a character with 4 or less from their hand. So I don't think this happens as much either, but being able to give a Dawn and be like a 7k rush that gives a Dawn, so you can do that. I don't know how often I would get the return effect, but there might be some matchups where it makes sense. Like Emu, it doesn't work anyways, and then Zoro, like I guess you can return, I don't know, if you return a Tashigi to their hand, I guess they can play out like a 4-drop Zoro, which I guess is better, but it's interesting. An interesting worded effect that I'm sure there's a lot of matchups where they have really good 5-drops, but their 4-drops and lower are just like awful. So maybe that's works for there. So other than that, just understanding, I think more and more people have been adding Rad Beam to the deck, which is really interesting. Uta has been like the best 2k for this deck by a wide margin. Just being able to say, even you can play like your I Am Whitebeard for 8, and then you'll drop a big boy, and then Uta you can play for 2, and that's it. Like you're good for the turn. You set up 2 blockers. You put a Dawn on your leader as well, and all of that is really handy. And then the rest of the deck there. Do we have Goldie Roger? Yeah, in both builds. Yeah, this card's also like weirdly really good in this format compared to like it being out for literally a year and not really finding a really consistent way to play it. Most red decks are playing this now because there are so many just blocker decks that end up at 0 with a bunch of blockers, and this just wins you the game a lot of the time. So I think it's kind of fitting, obviously, for this format too, but it's really interesting to see this Roger just do very well. So not much more to say there. This is the build here from James and Chris. Congratulations for their top 8. And then we got 4 more quick decks. We've got Teach from Adrian here, and I think Teach is just going to be in an okay spot still. The fact that you do get the on plays away from Emu is good, and also Ace does have a lot of good on plays. You get to play a 10-drop Newgate, subjugate, but you don't get attached the Dawn to your leader, which is really important. The activate main from 5 Elders does not, does get around from Marshall.D.Teach, does not get disrupted by it, so that can be a little bit tougher. And I don't really know how the Zoro matchup ends up working with it either, but I think like Teach will never be like the worst deck in the format, especially since if you're really confident knowing how their matchups work, I do think that it's something that Teach can adapt to a lot of decks if you want to. And I don't know exactly the best ways to interact with the format exactly right now, but I do think Teach is in a really good spot for being able to get, still the same stuff. So it is interesting to see we're only on 2 copies of the 10-drop Teach as well. I do think the 4-drop Jesus Burgess is probably more of the emphasis of this deck right now. I have seen like in previous formats, like people were playing like 2 copies or 3. This one we're playing 4 of these and then only 2 of the 10 drops, which I think makes sense. Like the 10-drop I don't think does as much as like a defense tool right now as it used to do. And so it's a little bit tougher to get like the full value of it as it used to, but it's still like a good card and can help you in some formats. The Black Vortex as well can help you in some matchups too, being able to get like some great negated effects as well. Like even just like using Black Vortex to, get rid of like the, because this gets rid of an effect for both leader or characters. You can use it to prevent something like the, the Peter from the Jupiter from getting the +2k across the board by using this, so that can be helpful as well. So other than that, I think that this is still a solid deck. Congratulations for Adrian for their finish there. We've got Silver's Rayleigh, which has not changed since OP12, and that's fine. It's kind of been like it's supposed to be like the OP12 deck that what the cards look like, right? And then you go from there. I do think that it does have some advantage of being an aggressive deck. I do think like Zoro is just like by and large like the better deck in the format, but you can pressure Emu very, very early, and there is some chance I think for Ace to just succumb to how many attacks you get. But I do also think that I think Ace like defends up enough, so unless like they like super brick or you guess like get the god curve for Silver's Rayleigh, it can be kind of tough for them because like they just draw so much. Like Marco Blocker does so much for you, right? Like you get out of one of these attacks and then you get to draw 3, and then like the fact that like Ace is an 8k once per turn by discarding any one card from their hand is really, really, really tough for I think Silver's Rayleigh to get that advantage. But being a 3-life leader is tough for Ace too if you're able to hit them down early. Eventually I think you are able to just use like the to never doubt, make your leader unblockable, go 15 for game, and sometimes that will be enough unless they've got like a bunch of rad beams or something. But here's the build here. Congratulations to Nico for their finish with the Silver's Rayleigh. We also do have the Betty in kind of again the same vein, right? Betty was weirdly like one of the best decks, if not the best deck in OP11, and then out of like almost nowhere, it was so peculiar in my mind, right? It didn't really get any support. It didn't really like nothing really happened with the deck, right? It just happened to be like, a lot of people are playing Luffy and it's a kind of a bunker up slow start deck, and then it wins the late game, so we can play Betty right now. And then it's kind of the same thing, I think to less of a degree right now, but like Emu, it does take some time to set up, and it's a 4-life leader even though it is monocolor, so because of that, Betty can really, really pressure them if you're set up correctly, right? The Emporio and Karasu is so good. The fact that you have all these things that can pop out of your life, and we do have the new card Lilith, which is really helpful for this deck. So on play, look top 4 to reveal a card with trigger other than Lilith and add it to your hand, and then on the trigger effect you get to play the card, which is great. None of the like I'd say main combo of Emporio Karasu do have that trigger, but you do have a good amount of cards from this deck that you are able to search. But the biggest thing is that it's a 1-drop that is a 2k that does let you use your leader effect on it. So with the Betty, you look top, you discard a card, you choose 3 cards that a Revolution Army have trigger, and you get the +3k power. So this does become a 5k just by pitching a card. And like early game, sometimes Betty has a hard time getting the max amount of targets for its effect, and so being able to do that is really, really helpful for being able to pressure your opponent and get like a little bit of card draw and some good pressure there. So I think Betty's in a good spot if you guys like that. And here is the build here from Manuel. And then we got Caniggia here with their build of the Bonney here. So Bonney was, you hear Bonney in the top 8 or whatever, you're like, oh, it's green Bonney. No, we got yellow Bonney for this deck right now, and I do think it's an interesting like kind of aggressive deck. It reminds me like a little bit of like Yamato sometimes, because you have your turn once per turn, this effect effect can be activated when you play a character with a trigger. Give up to 2 of your rested dawn to one of your characters or leaders. So the fact that you can just say, oh, I play Onami, and then my leader becomes a 7k banish is really, really, really good already. So I think that's something that can be fantastic for helping your opponent, like get rid of like some stuff on your opponent. We got an almost fully actually, do we have a full? Yeah, we have almost everything except for the new Stussy has a trigger in this deck. So the fact that Lilith essentially turns into look top 4, draw a card from there is really great. It also means that we have so much advantage from any cards being hit from our life, essentially, right? We do have like the Bonney, we've got the Nekomamushi, Sanji, Kiko Nojo, we've got the Nico Robin that can deal some damage, we've got the new Boa from PRBO2, so you can trash a card with trigger from your hand, which is essentially any card. Up to one of your opponent's rested leaders or characters other than the monkey, the Luffy cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. Being able to KO something on trigger is great. We've got S-Snake, up to one of your opponent's character with the cost of 6 or less, cannot attack either. We've got the Nami, which is sometimes like a cycle 1, and I think like the fact that you have anytime you play a character essentially, because even like if you do play the Stussy, you do get to play a card with 5 or less in trigger from your hand, which means that will activate the leader effect. So because of that, like just being able to be like aggressively a 7k leader for the entire game is just really, really good in that regard. So we also do have like the Usopp one, the trigger of it making your leader 7k is good. We don't have any ways to, I think, set that up. We've got the 9-drop Bonney as well for like some rush and burn damage. And in general, like this build looks really interesting. It's like a tempo build of it. It also kind of reminds me of like Charlotte Katakuri, right? In that way, where we're able to attack 7k pretty easily every turn and get a lot of good triggers. And I do think, like, again, this is really momentum based. And if you are able to like keep on dropping cards and like burn damage with like Nico Robin, I think the fact that the Bonney can be good and help you into stuff like Emu, the fact that also like if you're playing against Ace, you can really like get rid of all of their life very easily just by your burn damage effects too. So I don't have much more here. Here's their build there. Congratulations for it. They're finished with ELO Bonney. And that's going to be it for this one. Again, if you guys want to check out any deck lists, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and checking out this event as well. And we'll have more of it in the future. So that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.